You've got to love this thing. It just keeps going and going. Welcome, everyone and all. It's been a bit of a strange start to the show. Sorry we're running a little bit late. I have literally just got a message saying that Wynn's in a bit of a crisis and Chris is running late. So I've jumped on board really quick to get the show going. And I'm sure the lads will join us shortly. Saying that, Chris has just jumped on board. There you go.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey,
How's it going,
how you
lads?
doing?
All good?
Yeah, you mate.
Brother.
Sorry about the being late. I just, traffic and picking kids up from school, man, it gets heavy.
It's all right. I've literally just got the mitt.
I don't know if anybody else picked it up, but Chris echo in the background.
Yeah, it's from Chris.
Okay,
Yeah,
there you go. Now
It's
we're
off.
good. All right, so how's it going, fellas?
Yay!
All good?
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Better now you're on board.
I'm back, man. I'm back. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, I guess. I saw the Paul Mitchell stuff. We didn't have, was it tomorrow? Yesterday was a Tuesday. You guys talked about something else. Tuesday we didn't have a show. Wednesday was, you guys had a show at 2 p.m. And so I think the news of Paul Mitchell came out Monday or Tuesday or somewhere around there, and that he was basically stopping his duties. You know, he's leaving. And then I read somewhere that he was lying. Craig Hope was. I think Luke Edwards came out and said that he was still going to do his job. And then Craig Hope doubled down on it, that he is not going to be, he's going to be not sacked, but I guess his duties were going to be finished, regardless of anything. And Andy Howe was going to be, I don't know, somewhat promoted part-time or full-time, I don't know. But the fact of the matter is that a few things are happening, and I don't know how that leaves the club and what I mean, if it's good, if it's bad. I guess if he's leaving anyway, I wouldn't want to have him as part of the negotiations. I guess. I mean, what would the point be, right? And then
it's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, you know, when we first heard he'd obviously stepped away from his duties by mutual consent, but he was working his notice. You have to question what role he was playing because, yes, whatever he'd taken on board himself, apparently he's handed over now to Nixon and Andy Howe. And obviously that would take time to get, you know, to do what information and what business he's been leading. And according, as you've already said, according to certain individuals, certain reports, some would say he'd already walked out of the building. Others were saying he's still behind the desk and he's overseen until the 30th of June. So you just really didn't know where you were with this lad.
Right.
But what effective role would he now have in this upcoming transfer market? I mean, I don't think you could trust anything that he brings forward, could you?
Well, no, probably, yeah, you're right. I mean, you know, well, it makes no sense. If somebody is going to go, why? Even if they were a moral and prudent person, I mean, it's just their head is not going to be in the game. You know, it's, you know, I just don't feel like he would be I mean, he would be worrying about his next job. You know, that's what he's got to worry about. And so, you know, my thing is now that there's really no clear answer as to who is running the club and who's doing what. As far as transfer is concerned, I'm not gonna, you know, dramatize with the lack of signings, but again, people have the right to question what's going on. So, listen, we got a panel here at Boki, Key, Jefferson, Gary. So let's open up the conversation then about what's going on as far as this is the Paul Mitchell's news is concerned. And we're going to talk about other news. Rashford is heavily linked to Newcastle today. I mean, also Isak leaving. So I don't know. I guess we got to talk about it though. So Jefferson, I mean, I'm sure you're not happy that Mitchell is finally done in the club, are you?
Well, you know, it's a sign of the times, isn't it? If you've got a really established, you know, director of football with the acumen and reputation of Paul Mitchell leaving the club, and I think there's mixed signals there in terms of he was originally instilled by the board. So that's the board saying, all right, we're going in this direction. I don't know what conversations took place on the final day of the season. All of a sudden, we're now going in this direction.
Right.
And what we're seeing is, with a lot of the players we're being linked with, they're not the kind of players, I'm presuming, that Paul Mitchell would be kind of shortlisting for us. And my understanding is you would have the likes of Steve Nixon, Andy Howe, and Jack Ross, former Sunderland boss as well, in charge at the helm. So it's going to be a joint effort until a replacement comes in. For me, I would like to see a replacement come in. I think it's important that the head coach, between the head coach and CEO level, there is an intermediary with checks and balances with an overall strategic view. I felt that having Paul Mitchell in was a sign that we were looking to advance the club and grow the club in the right direction to kind of establish ourselves as a superpower at some point. Obviously, that doesn't come overnight, but kind of adopting the European model is a step forward in the right direction. So I don't know long term what this means. Mitchell leaving, and we moving away from it. So from that perspective, yeah, I'm a little bit upset because it feels like we're going backwards in terms of how we're actually organised. My spirits will be raised if I see a decent level replacement director of football come in.
Yeah, Key. We haven't got your thoughts, I don't think, on this matter. So, what do you think about the whole Paul Mitchell situation? If it, is it a bad deal, good deal, or what do you think?
Well, I think personally, when the news came out that he was leaving, it suggested to me that things all went, all right in the background. Something was wrong somewhere. So there were disagreements amongst them. You would think, or I think anyway, but I'm not so sure that Eddie Howe can do everything on his own. Do you know what I mean? I don't think Eddie Howe should be the only person who's identifying players, to be honest with you. There has to be a team out there football's a global game now. It's not just what's about in the Premier League, which it seems to be that's where we're going. Everybody has to be Premier League proven. But as for Mitchell, he's the sort of 1 year guy who didn't really do anything to me.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I mean, another question would be: was he allowed to do anything? I didn't know what he wanted to do.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it suggests to me that there was disagreements in the background on how to progress forward, and it seems as though he said, "Right, okay, it's not for me. I'm off." That's the way it looks to me.
Right. Interesting. But do you think though that Eddie Howe should be the one to have the final word on all signings that come in?
No, I don't. No.
Not just not identifying. I'm talking about the final word. He decides who comes in, who leaves.
Well, I think he's definitely got to have an input. There's no two ways about that. At the end of the day, he's going to be putting them in the team.
Okay.
But football's moved on from the days when the manager did everything. But back then, when the manager was doing everything, it wasn't really a global game in terms of incomings, was it? It was more just, Premier League clubs buying from Premier League clubs. Well, First Division clubs, should I say, not Premier League clubs. Since the Premier League started, then it did become global.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, though. We need to bring you in when Win is here because he believes that Eddie Howe needs to be the next Prime Minister. So,
no, he's definitely got to have an input to me, but he kind of keep his eye on everything that's going on in football all around the world. To me,
exactly. So we've gifted some memberships. 5 memberships. They're going to Sophie. Sophie, welcome again. Sophie, you should be a member already. Come on now. To Coin a Phrase, welcome. Joe Robinson, welcome as well as Huey Gallagher, 1927, and it should be another one. Oh, there he goes. Giniesta Vignaldum, welcome to the membership club, and we're gonna be doing another giveaway. We actually got a few giveaways back to back. So when Wayne comes in, because he's busy tonight, so but when he gets back, we'll do a couple of giveaways for members. So make sure you become a member, enjoy the perks, and yeah, smash that like button, folks. Come on now, subscribe to the channel, and let's continue with the conversation. So Bogi, what are your thoughts, Mitchell? I mean, not officially by the club, I don't think, but pretty much just called it quits. I mean, well, actually, it's got 11 days left, so it's not really that big of a deal, is it?
I'm wondering if it's a bit mixed messaging in regards to has he stepped back from any dealings with the first team
Mm.
but he's still looking for youth players. Or don't forget, he also looks after the female team as well. So is he still working in some capacity in that role, but he's just stepped back completely from first team players?
Mm.
But that's just a guess. If he has just left completely, then we do need to get somebody in pretty quick. To again remembering the fact that there is another two element, well as the youth and the All Asses team as well, which also need to be remembered in regards to the director of football role. As for Eddie, I don't think he can be solely in charge of bringing in players. As everybody said, you need that step between the manager and the CEO. You need someone who's got like a strategy for the club long term, and
Mm.
what type of players we want, the age of the players, profile of the players, things like that.
Well, the also the lack of CEO adds to it. I didn't mention it, but it adds to the not knowing what we're doing, where we're heading, kind of right now. To be honest, I know Darren Niels is there, but you can't help but to think that Darren Niels and Paul Mitchell, for different reasons, are not in the game right now.
But
So
surely going into this summer, we knew what was happening with Eels. They must have been kind of knew what was going to happen with
but
Mitchell.
but
Things should have been in place.
but that's the thing. We've known about Mitchell for how long? I think I don't even know when his diagnosis came out, but like very early in the season, if I'm not mistaken. I may be wrong. I can't remember really. But man, it's certainly a lot of time to be able to put somebody in place already. The last day of the season should have been Eels saying goodbye, and then this whole time off transition into the new CEO, so he can appoint the new DOF if we're gonna have one, and so on and so forth. But I mean, we can play this game that that we don't know anything, and the club will figure it out. But to be honest, what we see in front of us is not really hopeful as far as it's not how a business should be organized. If the season is about to start, which is the most important thing. It revolves around football, so everything should be almost in place. So we get into this. If we bring a DOF, he's not going to have input on the signings. So what are we going to say? The same thing we said about Mitchell, which we got to give him
Exactly.
a year.
Yeah,
We got to
we've got to give him another few months to get his legs under the table and his feet on the carpet before he actually gets involved in any transfer business.
right.
But in the same situation as we was, as you've just rightfully said there, last year when Mitchell come on board, 11th hour and like didn't get involved in anything apart from the potential getting Mark Gay over the line. And again, if you listen to reports, what he was saying. They put down a 50 million bid and they didn't move from there. Every time Crystal Palace come back to us, the offer was still £50 million. It was never moved. Speculation saying that we put 60 million down. According to Mitchell, it never ever moved from the 50 because that's the price that they wanted to pay out for that player. And that's apparently is where he was alluding to, that the actual transfer business isn't fit for purpose, because it seems to be whatever price the clubs or the opponent clubs were putting down on these players, we're virtually willing to pay. And he says you can't do that in business. And again, different people read different parts of the lettering and come, 2 and 2 don't make 4 all the time with some people. So, like I said, for me, the lad, the one thing that gets me, right, he bought in the only person of any stature regarding a coach he's bought in, I believe, is Dermot O'Carroll for the under-21s. And now even he's left. So, for me, what this signifies to a lot of people out there, and I don't know you guys, your career paths or anything like that, the career path that I took, when you've got a rumble at the top, shit rolls downhill. And it does affect the business line if you ain't careful. If you haven't got somebody actually pulling the strings and keeping you on the straight and narrow. And I this is what I said to Win the other week, was that to me, we look a club to the outsiders, and if we're in trouble, not financially, but boardroom level, it looks like we haven't got a settled boardroom. And if you haven't got a settled boardroom, then things can collapse.
Well, it certainly looks that way. I mean, again, we don't really have a CEO, don't really have a DOF. Eddie Howe right now, in the saying that what's the saying, when the cat goes away, the mice will play, or something like that. Well, right now, I am not going to.
That comes across as a different meaning in the UK, though, Chris.
Well, but let me welcome Jamie. Jamie, how you been? All good?
Hey, good. Sorry I'm late. The old man wasn't very forthcoming with the joining message, you know.
Oh,
Let's
man.
blame it on him.
He's got a bit of a crisis, apparently.
Yeah, but yeah, his bollocks dropped. So, but anyways,
Losing his hair.
Yeah, Jamie, what do you think about? I mean, apparently, Paul Mitchell is officially, not officially by the club, but pretty much everybody's saying it, that he is stepping down, stepping away. He can't handle it anymore. So, I mean, now we got no CEO, no DOF. I don't know, man.
I think Mitchell stepping away now probably doesn't make much difference. So I think in a way I'd maybe prefer that than the whole lame duck effect, you know, where he's going in conducting negotiations when he's not going to be here. But yeah, it's kind of what you said there, isn't it? It's never been settled at the top since day one. And I think the coach leaving, it's a better opportunity. The what's his name, Diarmuid Carroll, is it?
Dermot O'Carroll, yeah.
Yeah, and he's Sparta Prague are basically promoting him, aren't they? But what you've kind of got to hope is, and it doesn't seem likely with the pace that the PIF operate, is that when it comes down to serious business, because there's nobody there at the minute, everyone's on holiday, that something happens with Paul Mitchell last year when, before you know it, it was just announced out the blue, we've got this guy in as sporting director. And I think someone as chief executive as well, it's got to come down the line. Something's going to have to happen soon because the transfer window's open, the real one. And the ideal, I think Eddie Howe was saying, getting people in early means getting somebody in for when they come back for pre-season on the 7th of July. And I don't think anyone would think we'd have that full structure in place by then, but some kind of progress would be nice.
Yeah. It's weird because I don't want to be negative. I want to be critical, but we can only blame PIF because PIF is the one that appoints CEOs. They should have had already a replacement, like Boki was saying. You know, I don't understand what the holdup is with that. Really, quite honestly, I thought Eels was going to stay because he never left. Although he said he was going to leave, I thought he'd just find a way to, deal with his illness and stay. But the fact that he's leaving, and you had all that time to find a CEO, which is probably, I know when we look at it in football terms, it isn't, but in reality, the CEO is the most important man in the building. So why we don't have one? It makes no sense to me.
That's the only thing. You're absolutely right. I mean, it's been months that we've all known about Darren Eales, his condition, and the fact that he said he was staying on board until the new CEO was up to speed. Now, what CEO? It seems as if we're still interviewing. We're virtually a year down the line now, and it seems as if they're still trying to work the right person out for the role. And again, that doesn't fill me with confidence. And it's not about what's happening in the transfer window regarding Newcastle. It's what's happening actually up, like I say, at boardroom level. That doesn't fill me with confidence. Yeah. Because if these guys are struggling to manage people, then what is actually going on? What is your role of this as a CEO? Is Darren Eales too soft? You know what I mean? Did he not? For me, as soon as Paul Mitchell, aired the dirty laundry, that should have been pulled over the coals to start with. You don't talk openly, general public wise, to make it look like we're in trouble behind the scenes. Because from that point onwards, we've not really had a settled situation, have we? Amanda left, and then everybody was saying, you've done a great job, but where do we go now? And it just seems as though every person that's fell into the void has come through one door and virtually gone straight through the back door. And nobody's had chance to actually prove a point. Yes, they've bought a couple of players in, and I've seen in the chat there. Yeah, we know we've got Vaktang, Salia, and Cordero in, but at this present moment in time, I mean, we can talk about Minte and the likes of like that. Yeah, you know what I mean. There's loads of ifs, buts, and maybes. But unless you get settled within the boardroom where you can, we talk about this plan. You know what I mean? We've got this 5-year plan, this vision. How can you sell a vision if you've got nobody at the boardroom selling it?
Well, I'll tell you what, that 5-year plan was when the takeover happened. So the takeover happened, not the took over. The takeover happened, which how long is that going to be now? How long we got left?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. We got to revamp maybe that, update that timeline.
4 years.
Yeah.
It is,
so it's going to be 4 years.
I think
But and that's where we get to the point where Jamie, you and Wynn, parading and getting naked in the streets of Newcastle, celebrating the Carabao Cup. I like that. I appreciate that. But 4 years is about to be the deadline is coming, man. Have we made that much of an advancement? Yes, we won a trophy. That in itself. But let's be fair. Accomplishing a trophy, the Carabao Cup, is massive. To break that record, right? But we also have to look at it. We look at it like that, but we also have to look at it that how much of an importance does it really make when you're trying to take bigger steps, right? Now, how much of an improvement have you really made by winning that Carabao Cup, which is massive for us, for fans, but you also got to worry about how far,
bottom of the
where.
table to fourth against teams who make 300 million quid a year more than us. The strides have been incredible.
Yeah, but if we talk about, again, if we're going to talk about money,
over a club and do this in 4 years every time
but the thing about bringing money in the conversation is Man United pays a ton of money for players that are worthless. We paid 50 million for Tonali, who is the best midfielder in the Premier League. So money is relevant and irrelevant at the same time, right? So we can say, yeah, Man United spend all this money, or Liverpool spends all this money, or Chelsea spends all this money. Actually, let's take a look at Liverpool. They didn't spend a damn dime in the last year, and they won the Premier League, right? So that has to be in the conversation, but it's not the end all be all. So I'm just saying, man, I like what we're doing.
With those players as well, though, they've been, the hit rate's been incredible, hasn't it? I mean, to get Tonali for that money, and that's down to people who spotted him. What I think the problem there is, for me, Silverstone should have been closing that £300 million gap. So like if we spend 60 million quid on whoever this summer, and it doesn't work out, he gets injured, he doesn't work in the team, whatever. That's a massive cock up. Man United, Liverpool, they can spend that money, the player doesn't work out, and they just go like that. And the press doesn't talk about it. We don't have that luxury because we don't have that money.
Hold on. You don't. I mean, you don't think the press talks about their cock-ups? The press lives off their cock-ups over us. But I agree with you. We have to be skeptical of doing some deals. But at some point, you're going to have to do a deal. At some point you're gonna have to you have to go out there and try to do something. That's what I'm saying. But it seems like in Buemo we didn't want to pay this amount of money it's a give and take. I mean, I don't know who's got the right answer, but the fact of the matter is we haven't signed a proper signing in a long time, Jamie. In a long time.
We lack teeth. We lack teeth. I think we lack teeth in terms of ruthlessness, particularly off the pitch. We've seen it with Chelsea, we've seen it with Man City. They've been able to make profit because of the quality coming through their academy. There are top Premier League teams with it's not their rejects, but it's their academy players. People are waxing lyrical about Morgan Rogers and Cole Palmer and players like that. Where did they come from? And I think there's something there as well about, if we're coming up to 4 years, why haven't we expanded our portfolio? There was talks about this Santos purchase. Why hasn't that happened? Why haven't we bought another club in Europe? Because if you look at what City have done, look at what they did with Savinho. They got him for like 10 million or whatever. loaned him to Troyes in France, then to Girona,
Well,
and then signed him for cheap. You know, we
it's
need to
well,
find these loopholes. We're too soft.
I could agree. I could agree with that. I could agree that the what is it, Steve Nixon that needs to the advertising guy and the ones that get his deals done should have gotten something done.
Silverstone, Peter
Silverstone, sorry. Should Steve Nixon? Why did I say that? Should have done something. Marty Wynn has the theory that he's waiting for the rules to change so we can make. Well, man, you're gonna have to sit down and wait because, I mean, at some point you just gotta. The train passes once, man. You gotta catch it. That's all I got to say. And listen, do a 3-year deal, 4-year deal, or something, but something small where we can make some money. If that's the issue.
Do a 12-month deal,
What we need to look
and then
into is
bring a new deal in as soon as you can.
Exactly.
Do a deal that has a clause you can cancel it at any time.
Some money's better than
Training
none.
ground sponsored by Asda now and by Saudi Aramco next year.
Yeah,
but that's the point that Wynn was getting to. What you've got to be careful of is, where they look at this fair party business, where they look at the monies that you've had previously from a similar club, from a similar company, and if that's extortionately higher, then they'll disagree with it. That's what happened with Man City.
Who was
you
it?
know what I mean? What one business come in and they agreed it, then the next time it come in, it was extortionate. They still passed it through, but then they capped it.
It's the point not. If City win this case, all that goes out the window, though.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what Wynn was saying. Are they waiting for that to happen before they go on board with it?
At some point, you're gonna have to. I mean, I think that could be a decent strategy, but if it, I mean, you're depending on somebody else to get a deal done. Like I said, I mean, you can do a year deal, 2 years, whatever. Something small to where you get some money. Some money is better than no money. So, Boki, you were trying to say.
I suggested exactly what you said there.
Was just sorry, Gary. What I was going to say was just in regards to Eagles, with him being so well, how involved is he? I mean, we all wish him all the best. But how involved is he at the club? Because he must be going through treatment,
and that's where Jeff
all the best for. But is he fully involved at the club at the minute, or is he sort of being there for the big events, but then having to take time back to deal with his own health?
Well, and that's I think what Jefferson's talking about, the lack of teeth.
Yeah.
Maybe we tend to be nice guys, and at some point you just got to say, look, man, we wish you the best and focus on your recovery, but we got to get a CEO that's about business. You know what I mean? That we got a business to run, and as cruel as that can sound, it really isn't. You just gotta. It is what it is. So, but anyways,
flip that as well, Chris. It's also doing what's best for the guy himself, making sure that he's getting the time he needs to recover from this.
Yeah. I don't think Tory says to have a different sponsor on our away shirt. I don't think you can do that though. I mean, who is our sponsor? Sella will. Is not going to take that.
You get the odd one where it's charities, that sort of thing, is a one-off.
Yeah, but Sella is in charge of that. I think. Like what is it? What was it?
25 million deal, isn't it?
Yeah, the NID. No, what was it? The deaf for the deaf kids.
Oh, the deaf one, yeah.
They did that.
Institute for the Deaf.
Right, but the Sella had to be involved in that. All right, and just Nixon and Andy Howe will absorb the tasks that would have been the responsibility of Paul Mitchell. So Andy Howe getting the promotion there. I don't know if that's going to be. I mean, I don't know, somebody nepotism, good old English nepotism, boy. My son is the prince. Oh my God, the future king.
You know what? Sorry, it was Andy Howe who got the Tonali deal.
Oh, here we go.
Tonali that won Serie A and was in the Champions League semi-final the season before. Nobody knew him,
Why didn't he go to Man United or Liverpool or something like that then? 50 million quid for an Italian international midfielder.
Hey, listen, man.
Maybe they did their research.
Tonali, listen. Don't underestimate Tonali. He was the one gambling. Come on now, to be that cheap. Anyways, let's move on to the next topic, though.
Sorry, can I just say?
Yeah, sorry, mate.
It makes you wonder, though, when you read, well, after this one, after that one, who at the club's got the final decision on what the paycheck's going to be?
Well, that's when you don't have a DOF and you don't have a CEO. Who's running it? Well, I mean, hold on. I mean, right here on the article, the DOF is in charge of negotiating and assigning these contracts. Well, now Andy Howe and what's his name, the other guy, are going to be doing what the DOF was doing, Andy Howe and Nixon. So, yeah, I guess they're the ones going to be putting in the money or the contracts, setting up the contracts, and so
Probably Eels has final say on the wage structure.
maybe so.
I think there's too much to operate though, Chris. If you look at it, essentially, you've got obviously recruitment, academy, scouting. You've got actual strategy, surveillance, all those sort of things. Because what should be happening is someone is scouting and identifying targets in the research. Some people are collating the tapes or providing reports from the scouting. And then they should be sitting down with the manager and saying, look, based on the attributes you've asked for rather than players, here's a short list of 5 or 6 players. Let's go through it. Let's look at the tapes. Who do you like the look of out of these 2? And then let's make a bid. And that can take a period of time, unless they've been doing this from last season. So if they're just going to start now, that's a problem. Because if it's a situation where, what's his name, Mitchell, had a target list, and they're like, yeah, sod that. That's out the window. Let's start again. Are we then going to be starting from behind? And as we know, it's not as simple as just going for Premier League proven, because straight away, if we've got a limited budget, okay, Pedro, 70 million, Gehi, 50 million, Trafford, 40 million, your money's gone.
That's it.
So it's a stupid strategy. Stupid.
We're going if that's true, of course it is, but you know we don't know. We're assuming here. Now let's move on to the next topic, because Liverpool apparently is trying to get Alexander Isak. So let's listen to Ben Jacobs as he has spoken on this matter.
It's going to help Liverpool be very aggressive in the market for a number 9. And Isak remains, like with Arsenal, to the dream target. But Liverpool feel there could be a window of opportunity in the coming weeks, even though we have to respect Newcastle and their position is still not for sale. Liverpool's perspective is it might be worth trying nonetheless. And what I'm told they're prepared to do, as they did with Wirtz, is for Newcastle United a guaranteed £100 million and then a package overall that may even surpass the 116 million that Liverpool have agreed with Leverkusen for Wirtz. Naturally, Liverpool know that this is a difficult deal to pull off. Newcastle insiders insist that with UCL football, they hold all the cards. Isak is well paid and contracted, and maybe an offer only of over £150 million, even closer to 200 million, might change Newcastle's mind. But Liverpool may still try for Alexander Isak before moving on to another target. And the likes of Hugo Ekitike, Benjamin Sesko and João Pedro are also on Liverpool's list. Anthony Gordon remains a player of interest too. So if Luis Diaz departs for Saudi Arabia, that could be one to watch. They nearly agreed a deal with Newcastle 12 months ago, but Newcastle were then able to sell Elliot Anderson to Nottingham Forest and Yakuba Minter to Brighton, and that satisfied their PSR position, which meant that Gordon stayed. But there was a brief period of 2 or 3 days where Liverpool really thought Gordon would already be a Liverpool player. So still Liverpool active, big spending, even after Wirtz, and they haven't yet given up on Alexander Isak, even though they know it's a difficult deal to pull off.
All right, a lot to uncover from that one. Ben Jacobs, cheers to NUFC Gallagher. That's where this video come from. And, well, 116 million over, I think is what he said. Guarantee 100. That ain't going to be enough, though. That's not going to get it done for me. To be honest, I don't think he's sellable. I just don't think. I wouldn't take any amount of money for him unless it's 1,900 million. I'll take probably that. Other than that, you can't replace him. You can't replace goals. I don't buy that. So what do you guys think?
I mean, there's 2 ways of looking at this. It's Alexander Isak apparently has come out and said, you know, he wants to win something sooner rather than later. I mean, I think obviously wetting his whistle with the Carabao Cup and now being in the Champions League has probably softened that blow a little bit. But at the end of the day, this will all come down to the player. When you're when you're a club, you are contracted, you are paid a decent salary. But as we all know, and if you've heard the report from
Go on.
from
Sorry.
Gyökeres. You know, the reports from Gyökeres now, he's demanding a move, or he's going on strike. Now, I hope to God we never get to that with Isak. I'm hoping Isak has got a bit more, you know, knows about him where he wants to still play in a black and white shirt. But like Darren Eales has said in the past, every player has a price. Now, you know, we're all saying 150 million pounds. We've seen obviously with Wirtz that, you know, they've done a deal when it's a package deal with a lump sum put down. What is Newcastle's price for Isak? And I think as much as we all say you can't sell him, there's going to come a time where we're going to have to replace him anyway, whether it's this year or next year, and he's got only 12 months left on his contract, where he'll go for a lot less.
Well, that's
He's got
interesting.
3 years left.
3 years. Well, you know, but that's interesting. I
3
mean, are
years
we
right
maybe, and we are in a position maybe where we do got to think about replacing him, because we are not yet in the spectrum of football. We are not the ultimate club to be at. So if Real Madrid comes, if Barcelona comes, Bayern Munich come, he's going to go. I would think. I mean, unless he absolutely loves Newcastle, like any natural born Geordie, but I doubt that. So
I think, sorry, for me, the key to this is him signing a new contract, getting his wage boosted, and making him the highest paid player at the club.
Well, he needs to be. That's clear.
Yeah,
I mean,
but if he rejects a new offer, that's only going to make all the speculation even worse, and it's going to go through the roof, isn't it?
Well,
if he does reject it, then I think if a good offer comes in, they'll have to consider it.
Hey man, listen. If he does reject it,
we are knackered.
Yeah. Come on. Well, Jamie, you want to say something?
There's a couple of ways this can go, I think, because is it possible we could look back in 12 months' time and say, oh man, we should have cashed in on him when people were throwing 120 million quid
Come
around?
on,
you know?
Man. You can say that about Gordon, not Isak.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't think so, because what Isak's done is he's scored 20 plus goals in the last 2 seasons. He was brilliant the year before when we got in the Champions League. Sometimes players can have a good season, but I think having 3 great seasons in the Premier League, we know is the real deal. And I agree with your original point, Chris. I don't think there's a price that you could replace Alexander Isak with, because 20-goal Premier League strikers are like rock and horse shit.
I mean,
they don't come along very often.
I mean,
so I think you dig in.
He is feared.
He shouldn't agitate for a move while we've got Champions League. It should be, at the very, very least, he should say, let's see how things go this season, even if he doesn't take the improved offer. And I'll say, if he does take the improved offer, I think he might never leave Newcastle till he's ready to go.
I always try to put myself in their situation. And I honestly, me thinking, you know, if I was Isak, I don't think in the position that Newcastle are in, I just don't. Liverpool or Arsenal, they just don't move me, man. You know, they just don't move me. The other clubs that are on another stratosphere, and you know that will do the job, but none in the English Premier League.
I do think what you think of, Chris, is in regards to that though. Isak's grew up in an era when Newcastle were nothing in the Premier League, looking at it from the outside. Yeah. Whereas if he looks at like a Liverpool, an Arsenal, a Man United, even they look like big clubs to him. They're like the big clubs in the English Premier League. And we look at it through Newcastle eyes. I think if you look at it through Isak's eyes, it's sort of he probably wants to develop with his career. Well, he does want to develop with his career, obviously. And sort of part of that is, I hate to say this, but does he want to go to a bigger club, one of the big named clubs over the past few years? You couldn't blame the lad if he did. And your heart says that you want him to stay, but your head says if you get offered 150 million, can you really turn that down?
Well, here's let Key finish his point, and then we'll go to Jefferson, and then I got something to answer you with. So, Key, go ahead.
I think what I want to say is I don't want us to sell Alexander Isak. I just want to make that clear. But if he does sign a new contract, one of the downsides to it could be he insists on a release clause in there, and it wouldn't be 150 million.
Exactly.
He's not going to agree to that. Do you see what I mean?
But hasn't he already turned down 100 million?
Who? Sorry?
Didn't he already turn down with the last one that was offered to him because it was 100 million release clause?
I don't know. I don't think he's got a release clause in there, does he?
No. You know, when he turned down the last offer that was offered to him, I'm sure part of that agreement, I read, I don't know how true that was. I read that in that agreement was £100,000 release clause, and he said it was too high.
Well, the thing is, though, if you're going to offer him a guaranteed money, he's going to have to give something up, which is, a big release clause. The more you pay him, the more the bigger the release clause can be. So, I mean, he's getting guaranteed money. So that's, I don't know. He might have turned down. I have no clue. But Key, you finish it there.
When they negotiated last summer, I thought they just put it on hold because Anthony Gordon was more of a priority because he had less time on his contract. And I thought that was the way the club went.
Yeah,
could be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they did get. I don't know whose bright idea was to give Gordon that amount of money based on one season. Jefferson, what do you think about Isak and Liverpool?
Obviously, undoubtedly, if we sell what would be our best attacking player, it'd be a sad day for the club. But we've seen this play out in history many times, even in more recent times, if for example, someone like Kabaya leaving the club, people were a bit upset about that and things like that. So it's part of our culture, unfortunately, because we aren't a super club. We're not an elite club. Obviously, we're a club with rich history that are adored by many, but there are levels to this game and we're still building. That's the thing. We're still building. So there's some shades of, you look at the likes of Luis Suarez having to go to Barcelona, Gareth Bale going to Real Madrid, Modric going to Real Madrid. This is the level of player we've got. So if he's leaving,
he's going to leave for those.
This is no offense to Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal.
Yeah, 100%.
Again, they're not of that ilk. He needs to be going to a Bayern or even at Inter Milan. I would totally get that because they're regularly getting to sort of, finals of competitions now. But
one thing that I disagree with you is though, I mean, now is not the same team that we were before. So now is a different. Newcastle are looked at from a different lens now. You talk about history, of course. I think that's why Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern, Inter, those clubs can move a player based on their colors alone. But like Arsenal got more trophies than us. But if they offer 100 million for Isak, I don't know that he's leaving. I don't think so.
The club needs to be compensated. Yeah. So, I agree what you're saying. If we're going to raise his wages, he needs to understand this is a two-way agreement. And I also think he needs to promise us one more season. So it might have a similarity with, I don't know if you remember Ronaldo. Sir Alex spoke to him and he said, okay, I'll give you one more year. And they promised to sell him the following year. Maybe we could have some conversations like that behind the scenes. But what I would like to see is some active succession planning. He's going. The quality and he's likely to go in the future. So you get someone in. I'm not talking like an understudy. Get someone who's good enough. That's what I'm saying. Get Victor Boniface in, who, he's still got raw potential. He's got a bit of Lukaku about him. But if Eddie works with him, I'm not saying we won't miss Isak, but all of a sudden, you've got a quality replacement already. And then we're not going to get taxed on the basis we've got 120 million in the future. So everyone's like, oh, well, you've got the money. Pay us 100 mil for whoever you want. We've got that successor ready, basically.
So let's talk about that then, because ESPN, the leading, what is their motto? The leading sports in the world, something like that. I don't know.
No idea.
ESPN. Dun, 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 dun. Come on, man. You guys don't know about ESPN?
Not as big over here, Chris.
That's
ESPN UK, man. Come on. ESPN UK.
Not big in the UK.
But ESPN is the leading in sports or whatever it's called. Somebody knows. Come on. They are saying that based on their crack sources, that Newcastle are confident that they're going to prepare an offer, or they're confident that Newcastle are going to prepare an offer for Man United star, what's his name, Rashford. So talk about a successor. Well, your feelings, but see, we got to talk about what the information out there is. Your feelings might say one thing, but the reality might be another, fellas.
Chris,
Well,
if Rashford's the answer, then I hate to think what the question
Well,
is.
I mean,
Well,
not necessarily,
question
not necessarily the answer, but maybe in addition to the team. You guys wouldn't take Rashford just for him to be on the team? I mean, come on now. He went to Aston Villa.
They were talking about a
It
loan
ruins
deal,
the
weren't
wage
they?
structure.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It would have to be a 50-50 split with the wage structure to start with.
Well, it would have to be, yeah.
Yeah. And then, like, obviously, what would the part of the loan agreement be? Would it be an obligation to buy, or, you know, whichever way it goes?
Yeah.
I think you have to be very, very careful when you're taking on board players like Rashford. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think he did well in the few games at Aston Villa. And obviously there was one or two players around him, Ollie Watkins being one, being disappointed that he lost his space to him.
So I got a question though for the Eddie Howe worshippers, right? So he's the Messiah, you know, he's Muhammad. He can turn any player into, he can walk on water, part the seas. So why, he's made Joe Linton from the worst striker in the history of civilization to the best enforcer, one of in the Premier League in the midfield. He's according to all you worshippers, you believe that Eddie Howe can do anything. So why couldn't he turn somebody with the talent that Rashford has into a good, proper player? Why couldn't he do that?
How old is Marcus Rashford, and how much is he on a week?
I don't even think he's 30 yet.
We have to fit into the size of club we are. We can't give someone 300 grand a week, and if you pay money for him, you'll never see that money again.
No. But I'm not saying that he's going to get that money. Look, I think he's in a better mental position than Sancho is, because Sancho didn't want to lose any money. He didn't want to stay at Chelsea because they weren't going to pay him what he wanted. He was getting paid basically at Man U, so he had to return to Man U. So he's an idiot, really, because there's no way in hell that anybody's paying him that. But I think that Rashford could be on a different, a different mentality that he understands that he needs to. But if half of his wages, what would it be? I think he's on 400K at Man U, to be honest. So that could be like 200K, still a lot of money. But 150, wouldn't we pay 150 for him a week?
Would you guys he wouldn't be our player, would he?
No. Well, I mean, if he accepts, obviously.
So you're talking £7.5 million a year for a player that's not yours?
No. Well,
what does he bring to the team, Chris?
I think he brings. He's a very talented player, man. Look, I just don't see how you guys can't see that he's talented. I love talent, man. That's that's how you win games.
He's talented, no doubt. It's just his mentality.
I was going to say it's
whether entourage and all of that, isn't it?
It's the want, it's the desire. I think the trouble is, and I think this is the problem with the likes of the Villa move. You saw his head drop at Man U. He goes to Villa and he shines. I'm not saying he was the world's best, but he shines because he's on loan and he's trying to impress. That's the type of player you'll get. You'll get a player that shines to try and get a contract, a deal. But as soon as he signs the dotted line, you're going to go back to that player that if he can't be asked to turn up for training, then he'll be like that. I think it's a big risk. I'm not saying he isn't a talented player.
Yeah.
I just think it's a big risk.
I know Villa have PIF issues, but you also have to ask the question as well: is FFP issues is too many
PIF issues?
But in regards to that, why aren't they desperate to try to keep him?
Well, I think they tried. I don't know. I can't understand the whole situation. Barcelona wanted him, but they couldn't sign him up. So that was the issue, I think, with that. I don't know, but I'm just.
Just to clarify some of the comments in like Sophie B saying that he's never been offered a contract. He was offered a contract in March 25.
Okay.
That he turned down. Isak.
I don't think that's right, Gary, from what
I've got it here. I've got it in black and white in front of me. I've just read it again just to make sure I was right.
Where'd you get it from?
Where is that?
It's the Express. It's the Express, and it's also on the NUFC blog. That he was again. These are just initial
Well,
talks.
actually, I do remember. Yeah,
Yeah, these are initial
and-
talks. It's not a contract offer in writing. It's
Right.
initial talks, and it says Newcastle have paused contract discussions with Alexander Isak, alerting the likes of Arsenal and Liverpool that may want to target the player
That
for
I
a big
remember,
move,
yeah.
summer move. Yeah,
What's
remember
the
that?
source of this story though? Because like
It was
what I've
everywhere,
heard
though.
from journalists close to the club, they haven't opened these conversations at this point.
It was an
I think
initial
they're trying to-
discussion to
Stuff
see
about
where he
what
wants to
Alexander
be.
Isak said.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to feel what he was thinking, and I think it had to be. I think the amount of money, or maybe the length of the contract, something like that. I remember it coming up a while back. By the way, it looks like we did something good. Whoever did the Lloyd Kelly deal, not only did we get good money for him, but it looks like we're getting a percentage for a future sale.
Sell on, yeah.
So
That's
that is
Mitchell.
massive. Whoever
That's
did that, Mitchell
Yeah.
did that. So look at that's proper now, man. Come on, so hey, everybody, round of applause to Mitchell for doing something right. No, hey, listen, we gotta praise him, man. Hey, come on, Jamie, you're a happy clapper, man. I know you hate.
Do you
I know you
think this
hate.
was always a plan with Lloyd Kelly?
No, I don't.
Nah, he's house boy.
Because do you
Well,
think it's just worked out incredibly well?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't the plan. But once it became clear that he wasn't going to play, then Mitchell did a majestic job, man. Come on now.
Yeah, I
Getting
mean,
money for
yeah,
Almiron
to do
as
the
well.
deal, but you can't make Juventus want him. Juventus had to say we'll have him.
True.
There was the clause, wasn't it? They had to finish
You
top.
know,
But
like-
we cannot deny that when Juventus came up, not even Lloyd Kelly's mom thought he was going to be going there. so come on now. Come on, Jamie. Now,
Yeah, when you first read that story, you just thought that is proper paper bullshit. Lloyd Kelly to Juventus, yeah, next. And then it's just,
I'm
it
telling you.
happened. Wow.
So yeah, that's gonna be massive news if they sell him. If we can pull that off, boy, get a cut from that one. That's what we got to do, though. That's what we got to do, man. Like the same thing, you got to put percentages all over. We'll see what Cordero can do. Hopefully, we try him before.
I did want to make a point actually earlier. You've reminded me of, because I don't know if anybody knows this, but talking about getting a huge fee for Isak, do Real Sociedad have a sell-on percentage?
Don't think they do. I don't think they do.
I don't think they did.
But it was like
No,
70.
because-
It was like 70 million, man. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, because there was two prices negotiated. One was with a sell-on clause. I think it was something like 15% or something silly like that to them, and then they renegotiated the 63-something million to get him outright.
Yeah. All right, then we're gonna finish off with the comments from the chat. Cesar, good luck to you, man. You have an operation on you, so good luck. Hope
luck,
that everything
Sean.
is good. Aaron here says, I really think we should just give the position to Steve Nixon. To be honest, he's excellent. So there you go.
He's an excellent scout, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, but DOF does other things, though. Come on
That's
now.
what I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's a backhanded compliment. Was that? Yeah. Okay. No big deal, man. Ronald Turnbull, CEO of PIF, said Isak is going nowhere at any cost. All right. Gavin Fuller, if this Premier League proven is so important, why did City not buy all these players from the Prem with no money? Worry. And our best players were not Premier League proven either, so that's good. That's actually very true. The defenders of Eddie Howe are not saying much, so crickets, okay. Sophie says maybe PSR deal before the end of June. That could be, isn't that? I heard about that, by the way. It has to be July before we make any, I guess, offers. I don't know.
We can still negotiate. We
still
just can't
negotiate.
sign them until the 1st of July.
Yeah,
I think what she's referring to there is getting a PSR deal, as in picking on someone who's in trouble
picking
like
the
we were
pockets.
last year.
Yeah.
And the name that keeps coming up is Aston Villa, who've got themselves in a PSR mess. So you could go and get a £50 million player off them for 30 million,
right?
If they're desperate, who they don't really want to sell.
Yep. Mark Cooper, EOS might not be well enough to do the job or interviews. Well, if that's the case, then that's a problem.
Yeah, but
Unfortunately,
they've got other CEOs that can talk to them. Like we've just been talking about PIF there in the background.
Yeah.
You
yeah,
know,
but PIF, who's going
They won't get
They've
involved.
got a delegate from
they're not.
His
the-
Excellency, haven't they?
yeah, they have. They've got somebody who sits actually in Newcastle
Oh yeah,
from
there's a Saudi boy. It's a Saudi,
Saudi
boy.
boys.
That's,
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what I said.
There's one Saudi guy. I don't know who the name is, but yeah, I guess he's been kind of absent as well. I only heard about him once or twice, so I'm not sure.
Chris Eagles would be the only person interviewing for his job. That would be really strange. There's got to be somebody from PIF involved.
Oh yeah, for his job, but I think we were referring to like
Oh, for the
players
director of football.
players or anything like that. Brian says Chris Mitchell has not stayed long with other clubs. That is true, actually, as well. Though somebody brought that up when we hired him. So hey, listen, it's an objective point there. Sophie, I watched a show last night with Stephen Gordon. Is that what his name is? Stephen Gordon? Bolson,
Stephen
the
Bolson.
financial expert and he says that we will be close to PSR still, but can spend 150 and after July because there would have been bonuses paid. I don't know.
Yeah.
Benny says blame PIF. PIF do things.
I saw that. What he was saying was because they've qualified for the Champions League, the players were getting a bonus, and obviously they've won a trophy as well, so there'll be another bonus to pay there. So
Okay.
that'll nudge them closer up to the PSR line, if you like. But what he also did say about it was that the contracts, when they negotiate the bonuses, they might have negotiated so that they pay it in after the 30th of June, so it goes on next year's books, if you like.
Yeah.
It just depends on how they negotiate the bonuses with the players.
True.
Yeah. If you're giving me £3 million, you pick your team.
and you can tell Longstaff bonus. I want to see, but Longstaff better not get a bonus. I'll tell
That's
you.
what Chris is paying for being on the night, isn't it? 3 million.
There we go. Exactly. Each.
Hey.
Benny says blame PIF. PIF do things on a considered basis. We're a well-run club. Mitchell was in response to the PSR scramble and no Europe. I'm happy we're recruiting for the position we're in right now. Okay, Benny. Kenzie, the window has time left, but the season ended a month ago, and we haven't done anything early. And every day, we are losing more ground on our rivals. Can't use PSR excuse. What are they waiting on? All right, Alessandro Minetti.
Just regards to the PSR, he also made the point that if Newcastle went out and bought a £60 million player now, that would be split over the amortised over the 5 years.
Yeah, you can do that.
Say. But it equates to obviously 12 million a year, but actually £1 million a month. So you'd only be putting £1 million now on the books if you sign a player now.
If you do that, I mean, you can make it any amount of signings you want. But I kind of don't like that kicking the can down the road type thing. I like paying for things now and no payments. And well,
that's not what that is it? I mean, they'll always pay cash now. That's how they got Anthony Gordon, because they give Everton the money up front straight away because they needed the cash flow for keep the lights on, basically, Everton at the time. But when you amortize, I can't even get it out of my mouth. What's it? Amortization?
Amortization.
That just goes towards your PSR calculation. So you're putting 12 million for a player for 5 years.
Yep.
But actually, if you did it now, you'd only be putting $1 million on now before the 30th of June.
Alessandro Minetti, if Newcastle wants to be with the big boys, we got to start revamping the squad now. We have a game in 1 month. That is true, actually. But anyways, man, I ain't got energy to be in that. Is that? Well, we play. I mean, we play against.
Pre-season game.
Oh, okay.
David Veach.
I think I agree with the point. You want them in for pre-season.
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
I mean, the lads don't come back to start trying until the 7th of July. So even if you got them now, they wouldn't get in there till the 7th of July.
You're just paying them to go on holiday, aren't you?
But also the thing about it is that players also like to be settled down. You don't want to, they got to move, they got family. You got to worry about all of that stuff, man.
It comes as a package, yeah, exactly.
So, anyway, David says, I think the stadium announcement is being held up until Hopkinson has time to review its fit for purpose within the club's great ambition. We're going to do a show in the stadium, by the way, because some people have been protesting over 28,000.
It's over 30 now.
30. So we're going to have to talk about that. All things Newcastle United, whether we agree or not. We got to bring it up. And I think that's going to be tomorrow for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So, yeah, it's going to be Gary and Wynn and whoever wants to jump on this conversation about the stadium. Hey, listen, it's a very hot topic, the stadium. It hasn't been announced anything yet. And I think Mark, what was his last name? Mark something from the iNews website. Yeah, he said that not to expect any announcement on the stadium anytime soon, or this month or next month or whatever. So, I don't know. Joel Bailey, Gehi going to Liverpool, Diomande going to Palace. Who are going to get at centre back? Is he going to Liverpool for real? Come on now, stop playing.
Being linked.
There's loads of links to everybody.
Diomande would be so good for us, man.
Yeah.
In terms of the attributes we need at the back, that pace, that raw pace, we need it.
Yeah. Adima here says, give them Gordon and let them get Ekiteki. So, what the heck is going on there?
What's that?
Who's
That's my phone beeping.
I thought it was your sound effects, Chris.
I know I did.
That was a pretty good sound, though. Jay says Diomande is agreeing terms with Palace, so I think Gehi will be our first signing. Hopefully so. I think Gehi would choose us. The thing though, if Liverpool come in, being Liverpool and offering a lot more money, then that's going to be a deadly combination for us against us. So yeah,
They've got a pretty settled pair of centre halves.
Well, Van Dijk and Konate. Pretty. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why. That's also what we got in our favor. You're right. Actually, I forgot about.
Rumors
are well, I keep hearing Wynn telling me that the Burn is better than Van Dijk, so I just kind of I'm getting groomed, man. I start forgetting. So
Madrid want Konate though. I think they might find a little something.
One player that we could have that I would have loved to see in the black and white was Antonio Rudiger, man. He's deadly, man, and that's what Gehi reminds me of a little bit. Although I think Gehi has more technical play, a better player really than with the ball in his feet. But anyways, let me go.
Rudiger.
Yeah, man.
What?
No. I'm talking about Gehi is a better footballer than Rudiger. Yeah, footballer is in with his feet, dribbling, passing. Now defending. They're both ruthless, man. But yeah, I'll probably give you the advantage.
You realize one's won the FA Cup, one's won.
Stop with this winning. What is that? Winning. Winning means nothing, man. Winning for one player, unless they scored the decisive goal. What are we talking about? We're talking about center backs here.
Man.
We're talking about center backs. It's like
I don't agree with that. No chance.
It's like you.
Nah.
Yeah, get his problem, man. Get out of here. Carl, help. The problem is, even with 150 million, we can't replace him. So what's the point? I agree with that's my point with Isak. DCB, the last one, biggest mistake we made after the takeover was swapping out Amanda Stavely. She was the perfect saleswoman for our vision. So there you go. Those are the comments from the chat. I agree with that. On that note, we can call it off, ladies and gents. So anyways, there it is. Appreciate everybody joining us tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. UK, 8:30 a.m. in the US. We're going to be talking about the stadium, the protests, Mighty Wynn and his comrades protesting, signing the sheet to not
Those
allow.
butts and newts.
Yeah, man. Oh, and his friends, the crackheads from Lee's Park. They don't want to tear down their Ooh. I tell you what, those people can do a commercial on a toothpaste and Colgate because they got so many clear white teeth. Especially the ones asking Mighty Wynn for cigarettes when I was there. Boy, they got a beautiful smile, some of them.
I remember when you were over here and you were talking about that.
Wynn's
That was the worst job you ever had, didn't you?
Wynn's just texted well and said the emergency the night was half price in Chinatown.
Oh, yeah, he had to go, boy. Yeah. He had to go. He had to go get that, boy. Yeah,
he had to bug off. Boy, one get one free.
Hey, let's just hope Wynn didn't get stuck. But we will see him. Hopefully, if you see him tomorrow at 2 p.m., then you know he didn't get stuck. You know, he was good. He was good. Anyways,
Need a
folks,
bloody miner's lamp. Oh, the Geordie lamp. That's what he needs.
see you later, folks. Take care. Ciao, ciao. How are the lads?
Lasses and
See you later.
beds.
We'll see you later.